Eagles fans, welcome back to another season of Coast to Coast. My Lord, it is so exciting to be back at the helm here at Mineral Resources Park, coming out of the podcasting studio. Obviously not alone. Wouldn't get too many listeners if that were the case. I'm joined by up-and-coming superstar of the competition. Doesn't he love that intro as well? Oscar Allen. Welcome back, mate.
Thumper, how are you? It's good to be back. We spoke about this earlier. Season 4 of us being a part of this podcast. There was a year there where you were reminisce and you were a background character for parts of it, but 4 years. Who would have thought I would have got this far?
Mate, I do remember you coming up to me first year and saying, hey, look, Oscar Allen, big fan. If there's ever a chance, of an opening in Media Land, I'd love to take it and have a look at you blossom. You're on the Channel 7 crew at the moment, is that right?
Yes, I'm doing a little bit of work there at Channel 7, but it started off, if I do recall, Hamish Brayshaw and I were on the first podcast. You were still Butsy, Scully and yourself, and you were still in the off-season Subi, were you not? Or leading?
Yeah, but that was a one-week sort of visitation.
It was.
You know?
And then we went from there to the next year in 2020, Scully, myself. And then 21, Hamish Brayshaw, myself, and I think Goss ran it with us in 2021 as well.
We haven't been able to get rid of you just yet. You've hung on.
I'm the only one remaining, so either you or I getting the sack at the end of this year.
Every chance. Can I talk to you about that promo shoot you did with Channel 7? So you're pumping up some footies with Nick Nat?
Yeah, we are.
You don't say one word?
No.
Well, you failed speaking roles on the day?
Did you see the other section of the ad as well?
I saw Simo hanging out some clothes on a washing line.
Simo hanging out club jumpers.
He'd have been rapt to do that.
I think Caleb Sarong and Nat Fife were also involved. I believe Caleb was cutting the grass at the training oval at Freo with some scissors.
Sure.
So he was going over each blade of grass.
That's not how they do it.
No, apparently not.
Okay.
So it was an uncomfortable couple of minutes. I don't know how they film those ads. So that is, I think it came up on telly the other night. It is about 3 to 4 seconds of action. That took 4 hours for them to get it done. Like, it cannot be that hard.
So you were pumping pretty poorly is what you're telling me. Were you deflating footies, popping them?
Mate, we were pumping them up for about 30 minutes. All right, let all the air out. Go again. Can we get another shot? And then there was all the speaking lines, which obviously didn't make the cut.
Lucky you got some good forearm strength then, Oz. From all the gym sessions that you're getting in touch with.
Thank you for clarifying.
No dramas. So let me just touch on, we'll go all the way back. So it's been a full, 4 months since the listeners have really heard from you.
Yep.
Give me off-season talk. So it was a big off-season for yourself and for a lot of teammates.
Yeah, it was.
Your adventure was quite unique, especially the timing of it all.
Yep.
You run through everyone in case they're not glued to your socials like some of the weirdos might be, refreshing daily.
Yes, so we were pretty keen on having a good pre-season this year, and all things considered, I think as a collective side we have. So off-season was as soon as we have an opportunity to go away, let's go away, come back, and then we can train for a prolonged period. So it wasn't, we'll train for 4 weeks, go away for a couple of weeks, and then jump back into it. So me and 7 teammates, 7 of the fellas, we went over to Europe for a couple of weeks.
Give me some names. Who went?
So Harry Edwards, Jake Waterman, Alex Witherden, Jackson Nelson, Xavier O'Neill, myself, I'm missing out on someone, and Rothy.
There we go.
So we went over to Europe and it was great fun. We had a terrific time. We did Greece, we did Amsterdam, we did London. It was awesome. And we did Oktoberfest and Germany, which was the highlight. It was unbelievable.
You were there for the same timing as the Queen's passing, though. So what was that like to be a part of the mass crowds? Did you think some of the trip was going to be cut short almost?
So the last day in Greece, we were on the socials. We were sitting there having a cocktail, shall we say.
Beautiful.
And it came up on the socials, Queen has passed away.
Brown bread.
And we had a flight in 10 hours to London. And initially we didn't know what we thought. We thought maybe they'll shut down the airports. Maybe the whole country will just go into a turmoil. And thankfully, we were able to get over to London. And the day we arrived, we said, look, this is a pretty monumentous occasion. It hopefully doesn't happen for a long time. And
I don't know. Have you seen how old Charles is?
I know. But she was in charge for so long, right? And she's quite heavily revered and people loved her. So we went to the services and stuff. So we went to Buckingham Palace, 500,000 people there.
My Lord.
So we got all the way to the front, saw the family come in one of the cars with about 300 armoured security all around it.
Yeah.
And then we thought, that was great. All right, let's go back. Took us like 2 hours to get out of there because you imagine walking upstream against 500,000 people. But it was an awesome trip. Obviously, that was a somber aspect of it. But my family heritage is English. Like mum and dad were both born over there. So it was pretty interesting and pretty special moment to be over there for it.
All right, we've got a heap to get through for the first episode, Oz. So I won't waste any more time. Let's start with new faces around the club. Let's go players, coaches, footy staff members. You don't need to touch on the IT and the accounts.
Yep.
I think the fans can get by not knowing them.
Yep.
But let's give me some faces. Give me some talk. Who we got?
So let's start off with not the playing group, because I think we'll run through the playing group and everyone probably knows their name. But the name that's currently in the media is Killer, our S&C coach.
Courtesy of Elliot Yeo on Channel 7 News.
Yeah, it gave him one of the great pump-ups. I actually got asked, because I was doing a little bit of stuff with Seven, as you alluded to, can we do a one-on-one interview with him? And I said there is no way in hell he will want to do that.
Correct.
Killer is 5'4", Irishman, jacked as anything. And for those who don't know, West Coast have an Irish program where we have one ECU, well not ECU student, a S&C student who's studying over in Ireland from
University of Limerick, maybe?
Yeah, Limerick, yes it is. And
which has been going for 20 odd years, I believe.
funny you say that, because Killer was the first ever Irish that the club's ever had, so that was 21 years ago. Came over, finished his degree over here and had some work experience, went back over to Ireland, continued to ply his trade, got a job at Sydney, has been working at Sydney for 10 or so years, I think. Then he went back to Ireland to coach, well, not Ireland, back to England to coach the Leicester Rugby Tigers in Union, I believe. And now has come back over here to do work with us. So he's been unbelievable.
Great story. Here's Elliot Yeo's first comment on him in the interview with Ryan Daniels.
He is crazy. He is crazy, but he's
Crazy
good.
Irishman.
Yeah, he is, but he's very good, very good. So, look, I get on very well with Killer, probably because he is a bit crazy. Some of the stuff that he throws out there are pretty whack. There's plenty of times I've walked away thinking I'm going to throw up. So it's his cardio sessions, it's either break or go, and if you can't keep up, he's pulling you out. So there's you don't want to be that first bloke that gets pulled out. So it's good like that.
What makes him so mad, Oz?
I think being from a rugby background, they're just so intense, and he just understands rivalry really well. And for someone who hasn't grown up with the AFL game, I think Sydney have a really strong culture, and I think everyone who watches footy knows that. So that was his first initiation after West Coast to a full-time environment, and it just seems like he gets it. There's not much more to say. If you work in a business environment, whatever it is, a new employee comes there, do they get it? This guy gets it.
I'm not in every single weight session that you're in, so you'll be able to talk
Clearly.
best about it, clearly. Well, I've never had a PT either, and the rig will tell you that. But when I went past, I was trying to find a player in the gym, and I walked in there, and all I can say is the atmosphere in there when the boys were doing their heavy lifting reps, if you weren't lifting your PB during that atmosphere, is all I'll say.
You never will.
You never will, because it just had me jacked. I'm walking by in business clothes, trying to pull someone up for an interview. But just the whole atmosphere that he had the gym in, everyone kind of around the apparatuses sort of egging them on. It was like something out of the college NFL clips you see of them lifting PB squats or doing things like that, and the whole team is wrapped around them. That's the feeling I kind of got from it.
He's setting the best environment in there, and this is nothing to disparage our former gym coach. Geordie was a terrific man, done a great job, and he's gone over to Gold Coast to, I think, work with the Olympic side over there. But the way he sets the gym program up, and he works with the players. So if you saw you've got something you're managing, we'll work around that, and we'll get your heavy lifts in when possible. So he's doing a terrific job, and really have enjoyed having him.
You got some gains worth spruiking about then, Oz?
Not to be said on the podcast, but I'm on the road to improvement, so we're getting there.
Yeah, we're all there.
Coaches-wise, we've actually got quite a similar coaching staff. I know we've got a couple of new development coaches. We've got Tommy Morrison, who I believe was actually a development coach at Sydney for a long period of time. He actually, funny story about him, was Gub's first development coach or mentor when he got to the Claremont Football Club.
For the Tigers, no way.
Yeah, so he's known Gub and a couple of the fellas for a long period of time.
How good.
We've got a new head of development, Steve Truella, who was the head of development at West Perth. A great man if he's from West Perth.
Mm-hmm.
And he obviously led them to 3 Colts, reserves and league into the grand final, something that hasn't been done for a long period of time there.
Did you have involvement with him back in the heyday?
I didn't know. I just missed him. So he was a player and I wasn't there whilst he was still playing, clearly. And then once he got the development role, I'd already been picked up by the club. So I hadn't crossed paths with him until he got to the football club, but he's had an instant impact as well.
So he's in charge of all the development coaches?
Yes.
And the program itself?
Yep.
Okay. Following that pretty well?
Yep.
Anyone else?
Not really. I don't think so. We've obviously had some new inclusions last year, so Jared Schofield and Matthew Knight. So from Geelong and Port Adelaide, successful programs. They've implemented their views and beliefs of football. So it takes often a while for those to really set into the foundation of the footy club,
Yep.
but The new faces that we're all excited about are, of course, the players.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been plenty of them.
Didn't you say you had some involvement in picking some of these players, or were you just ghosting in there for a while? Can we disclose any of this?
Yeah, I guess we can. So now all is fair in love and war. Hamish Brayshaw came up to me at about round 5 and said, mate, there's this kid playing at East Perth. He's come in, he's a country kid, he's playing some PSA footy, but whenever he doesn't have a game of PSA footy, he's not playing Colts. He's coming and playing league with us. He's 17, 18 years old, rangy. He's a defender, but I think he'll be a midfielder. I go, oh yeah, what's his name? Ruben Jinby. He goes, you should take him with the first pick. So at this stage,
This is back when he had a 2, right?
Yeah,
Two.
well, we were 0-5. This was at the start of the year,
Wow.
and we weren't. I obviously wasn't sure where we were going to finish. And he said, this Ruben kid is the real deal, a great young man and can play the game. So I was closely monitoring it. And then I think when we had pick 2, the concern around my mind was that's probably not sure if it's too early to go from, or I don't understand the logistics of the
Does
draft.
everyone else in the East know about him? Might be the question.
Yeah, exactly right. So all happens the way it falls. We end up getting him at pick 9, and he has set the world alight. I don't want to gas him up too much because you don't want to put too much expectation on these young boys, but early signs have been promising.
I think the Adelaide game, everyone saw it to its full effect.
Yes.
He had a couple of disposals that didn't hit the mark, but in terms of the ferocity at the contest, the size, the cleanliness with the ball, mate, you just walk past him in the hallway. He's a mountain. Those shoulders are only going to grow. And I don't know how tall he was. What is he, 190, 195 maybe? He's tall.
Yeah, not 195, but just for context, he was playing inside mid on... We had our last training session on Friday leading into round 1 last week, so he was playing inside mid on Luke Shuey, Dom Sheed, came down back and then played on me for 15 minutes and got the better of me. So he does have a bright future.
I heard the opposite. I heard you towed him up.
I got angry at him, but that's because I don't like playing on young guys who are super, super talented and more athletic than me. So I was getting my angry boots on. But there's something about country kids. Like, they just seem to get it. I'm a city slicker. I've always been. But country kids come into these AFL environments and they just seem to know when to speak, when not to speak, how to make people laugh, how to fit in really well. And obviously from Dunsborough, Wesley College was the captain there, so he's got leadership potential. They reckon he's added 15 kilos to his frame in 2 years.
It's plenty.
He ran a 6:15 2K. I'm not allowed to say, I believe, what he ran at the club 2K.
Nah, I probably shelved that.
But he was a very, very good.
Did you beat that?
6:15?
Yeah.
No, I did have improvement, but I didn't quite nick where he is.
Okay.
He's a as I said, he played tall defender for the Royals.
The third tall defender. You wouldn't see that too often in a draft year, Oz, going from a third tall defender at Waffle to a top 9 pick as one of your best emerging midfielders in the state.
So he never really... I think at Colts footy he played... Well, at PSA he played inside mid, but it's a lower level of competition compared to the state championship.
Whoa. We're throwing shade at PSA footy here.
Yeah, I am, mate.
No good.
And he came into the state side and won the best player. Playing inside mid, something he hadn't done before. So, and then we've alluded to the game against Adelaide. He's not the only exciting young prospect. We might have to rip through these a little bit quicker.
Go on then.
So Elijah,
we were always going to spend a bit of time on Rubes.
So Elijah Hewitt, pick 14. I'm sure everyone's seen the video of his goal against Port Adelaide.
Yeah. And the mark he also took as well. Might have been in the intra-club, that one as well. He took a nice little dangle on the right half forward flank. Can't remember if it was Port or the intra-club. They were both filmed in such shocking nick. That Port Adelaide game, to not get a couple of cameras on that, Oz, don't even get me started. Anyway, showed a bit. That goal off the contest, forward 50 stoppage was impressive stuff.
Yep. I don't think many people thought he'd fall to pick 14, so he's a WA local prospect.
Well, besides from that one game he had against Vic Metro, I think he had it almost 30 times, 11 inside 50s, couple of snags. Apart from that, I don't think he had a carnival that many were expecting from the WA scouts.
I was watching that game live with my roommate. He had 20 and 2 at halftime. So I was watching. I said, enough said. I want this guy as well. I was a bit of a nuffy last year. If you haven't seen already or picked up from, I struggled with not playing footy, so I was trying to immerse myself as much as possible. But he played 9 senior games of footy last year, which is always a great sign. Underage players that come in from a program and they've already played against men, they understand what it feels like to hit bodies with a mature man. It's invaluable.
Because he's not as well built as Ruben just yet.
I disagree.
You reckon?
He's more solidly built, but he just doesn't have as big a frame potentially to grow into.
Okay.
So they're both elite contest players. So 18-year-olds who are good in the contest, that's the best thing you can be because you can just grow outwards from there.
He came third in the agility test at the combine. What is the agility test? He came fourth in the vertical jump. It doesn't take rocket scientists to figure out what that is.
Yes.
What's the agility test? Is that run between the cones?
It is. So you zigzag between these cones. So it's hard to describe. It's almost like you run out, cut to the right, cut back left, and you go around these big pylons. And the reason they're big pylons is so you can't just... If it's a little cone, you can just run around it but cut your body inside.
Yeah.
So the pylons go up maybe 2 metres. You need to get your whole body around the pylons. And, yeah, third in the combine agility test is a pretty good sign for change of direction. And I'm not sure about you, but inside midfielders need to be pretty good at that.
You're true. So I do wonder when he will get his opportunity, how early in the season it will be. Pick 23, Harry Barnett, big ruckman out of South Australia. Truckloads of TikTok followers is what I first noticed when we picked him up. Looking at the draft, we had to search his socials, obviously, make sure there's nothing too outrageous on there because they're part of the Eagles fabric. And he just had this horde of followings. And immediately, the production manager in Thumper thought, you beauty, I've got some talent here to work with.
Yes. Has he lived up to that yet?
Not. I think you got to put the reins on him a little bit to start with.
Yep.
We'll take the blinkers off in due course. Get him some games, get his star power up before we really unleash into Josh Garlop areas, I reckon.
The thing I first noticed about him when I came across his socials, the Batman is his nickname. So it's Harry Batman Barnett. So we've been rolling with the nickname Batman, or if he's having a Barry Crocker, he's rolling with Robin for the day. But Big Harry, he seems like, I think he's the number one prospect in the draft. He's the first ruckman picked up, which is always a really good sign.
He was our second pick, or the second pick of the day two. And I think we had our eyes on him. Obviously, our rock stocks need a bit of refreshing, especially when the big fella hangs them up in a couple of years. So I think we were holding on hope that he was going to slip through that first pick. I think GWS had it by memory.
Yes, they took another WA prospect, but 202 centimetres, 93 kilos, another guy who's come in with a great frame to play senior footy. He played Sandful last year, so he played some senior footy. He is a really good runner. He seems like a really good athlete. 6.32 2K at the combine is a good sign.
Have you beat that?
Yeah, I've beaten that.
Okay.
I'm not going to say what I ran, but...
Just trying to figure it out.
It's somewhere between there.
If you're averaging 18 disposals and 3 clearances for underage level at West Adelaide, you've got to be pretty happy from a ruck's point of view, I would have thought. Have a listen to this. This was his. This is the kind of personality we're dealing with the Batman. This is him describing what the relationship is like with the first-year players. Check it out.
Coming in with 6 other draftees, it's like that episode of X Factor when they form One Direction, and they all just become best mates instantly. That's sort of what it was with us 7.
Different cat.
He's a rogue unit. Yeah, we love that, but a little bit different.
Right, let's go some Kobe Burgeel at pick 29. Gippsland Power, Country Victoria. He had a bit of a breakout season for the NAB League when he averaged 22 touches, kicked 12 in 9 games. Third fastest in the 20-metre sprint at the combine, so he's got some speed and he can fill a number of roles. Tell me something that the draft paper isn't going to tell me about him, though, Oz.
Big burger. He's playing half-back at the moment, so not only mid-forward, but he also can play in the back line. He's a good ball user. He's quite composed. Obviously, he's got some development to come in his game, but good signs as well. I love guys that have a breakout year in their draft year. A lot of people develop differently. I was one of them. I was absolutely nowhere until my draft year, and it's worked out okay for me to still be in the system and going strong, so really excited to see what Big Cobes can bring.
Terrific.
4 picks in the top 30 all look like they can seriously play the game.
And then adding another one. So we've got another country lad. So how is that? 3 country picks, and then you've got some Natanui Academy ones as well. But this is Noah Long at 58, and I think the drafting team were just wrapped that he slipped through this long. And the fact that we saw him line up for West Coast first team in the intra-club probably raised a few eyebrows going, oh, here we go. But within the 4 walls, we knew he was capable of filling that small forward role, right?
The diamond in the rough. I love this kid. I absolutely love it. As I said about the country boys, he just gets it. He's such a good young fella. He seems like he's super accepted within the locker room already. Good player, understands his role and what's required for him. That small forward role is a really, really tough role to nail and seems like early on really, really good signs. These country boys, mate, they don't miss.
They said that he broke his collarbone in round 1 of the NAB League.
Yep.
It's the only bone I've broke, actually, the collarbone.
How did you break his? Because his story is he was kicking, and as he was kicking with his lead hand to drop the ball down, if you can imagine it for those listening on a podcast, got bumped on his kicking side and cracked his collarbone through there.
Oh, it's just the absolute compression of the shoulder going in while he's holding his ball
as
out.
he's trying to release the ball.
Oh, it's way better than mine.
What was yours?
I pretended to take a mark of a fake footy at midnight after a 21st on a car tyre rim.
Oh my God.
And slipped and landed on the grass, broke the collarbone, had to go home.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's pretty poor. So Noah Long, welcome. It's going to be an interesting role to fill. I think they've got a few that are showcasing their talent to lock up that final small forward role leading into this week's game.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to the selection table. And then finally, to round it out, it's the Natanui Academy products in Tyrell Dewar and Jordan Baker. A couple of Cat Bs. Tyrell's out of the Goldfields. He's from the Subi Colts and originally from Mines Rovers. A bit of a natural, classy forward with pace. Both these boys have a tremendous amount of pace. He kicked 5 snags in a couple of Colts games in the finals of 2022.
Love it.
So how's Tyrell fitted within the fabric of the club?
Yeah, well, he came in, I think he had a bit of an injury cloud, so he hurt his ankle at the end of last year, but he is impressed with the way he's got through his rehab program, and anyone who bases their game or comes out and says they base their game on Liam Ryan, that's probably a pretty good place to start.
Sure.
And then Bake seems like a skillful winger, halfback, quick. That's one thing, as you said, both these boys have. They're quick, average 20 disposals a game at Colts level for East Perth, so knows how to find it. And another guy, one recruit we've missed out on, Jaden Hunt, perennially underrated AFL player. So he's played 114 games, he's 27 years old, and he would have played in their premiership if he hadn't hurt his ankle. He's been a mainstay in a side that's been on the top of the ladder for the last 3 years. Is that a good thing?
100%,
yes.
And I think the identification of speed within this West Coast side was addressed day one of free agency. Jaden Hunt, get over here. With his, you'd know best, Oz, but his personality seems tailor-made for the West Australian life.
Yep.
So I don't know how he was getting by in Melbourne in the conditions he was in terms of terrible weather.
Poor guy.
He seems like a surfy, playing great golf. So I thought he was very handy in the Crows game, especially to half time.
I'm just excited about, as you said, he seems like he'll fit the fabric really well. So he loves the outdoors, he reckons, loves going fishing, surfing, camping, loves playing golf, isn't that big on the city life. That's Perth all over in a nutshell, really. He seems like a ripping fella, and he's probably arguably already in the discussion for best golfer at the club, so it's a good way to come in.
Handicap?
I think it's 4 or 5.
That's outrageous.
Yeah, pretty good.
Okay, they're the new arrivals for the West Coast Eagles for 2023, both staff and players. Let's just touch very briefly on these practice matches. We'll go the intra-club, Adelaide, Port Adelaide. You can divvy them up into whatever subject matter you want to refer to.
Yep.
The Port Adelaide game was impressive that we were, by footy's admission, predominantly outplayed by them, but still found a way to win. Grinded out a good gritty victory on the home deck. And then the Adelaide game, certainly some deficiencies to work on. Beaten heavily at the coalface of the contest. Trying to start up a lot of ball movement from the back half. Adelaide was so switched on defensively with their pressure to get a good understanding of what do we do when this happens. When teams are on top of us in the contest, we need to generate ball movement from the back half and they are stifling us. This is how we did it, but this is how we should do it. Am I out of line by sort of suggesting that?
No, I think that's a fair representation of the last couple of weeks. So the intra-club, I thought, the last intra-club's a tough one to judge because some guys are going to play the next week and are probably in line for selection, so they're worried about hurting themselves. There's guys who are doing everything they can to get a spot in that first intra-club side, and there's some guys just trying to see if they can play against men because it's their first real proper hit out to try and prove to themselves really and build some confidence going into the year. So I'll almost scrap that. But the power game, I thought, as you mentioned, there were some really promising signs. I thought some young players came on. So Elijah was one, came on, obviously kicked that goal. Jakey Waterman came on late and had big impact on the game. And although it was pre-season, I thought we handled ourselves really well to get the win. And you can say get the win, but it's something we haven't done for the last 18 months, really. We haven't been successful in terms of the wins-loss column in the last year and a half. So I think doing those little things to try and get the overall outcome will tend really well for us in the future. I think that's how you start building a successful culture. You grit your teeth and get it done when you can. Flip into the Crows week.
Before you go, I think Port will play finals.
I have them to be in the top 4.
Yeah.
I think their team is super talented.
And they brought over an exceptional team as well to play that game.
Yep.
I don't want to brush past that point. Before we move on to Adelaide, with any of these games, Oz, answer this carefully because I don't want you on the back page of the West.
Go on.
Do you think that there was any kind of element with last year's injury catastrophes in the back of the mind when these games are getting played through any point of the game, maybe not the first 5-10 minutes, that the players sort of have in the back of their mind, don't get injured?
It's a good question. As I said, I'll be careful with how I answer it. I don't think players are actively thinking I'll be careful not to get injured, but the S&C staff do a terrific job with managing how long certain players can play for. So I played 3 quarters and then had a 5-minute run in the fourth quarter and they said, look, well done, you're done. First game in 500 days. Tick. Well done. You're out of here. I think they did the same with Shannon Hearn, potentially Jeremy McGovern. So a couple of guys who are, in their case, a little bit older or coming off, not necessarily interrupted, but a pre-season where there's been ebbs and flows. The club does a really good job of managing it. And at the end of the day, you're going to have to get through games hitting other bodies some way or another. So it's good to practice it, and sometimes you need to grit your teeth and get through games where you're a little bit sore as well.
Okay, the Adelaide game, despite the fact that they honestly look like a top 8 side out there.
They looked unbelievable.
I know, but I don't know how much of it was the stark improvement that we need to make. A few of the players need to get running their legs, or whether Adelaide are genuinely a shout to be in the top 8, because just the additions that they have, and finally these youngsters with the games getting into them. Fogarty looked like he's going to be an All-Australian forward the way he was plucking some of the grabs at the time.
Yeah.
Is it not Riscatelli? What's the Rochelle?
Josh Rochelle.
Yes.
Top 5 pick.
He was doing unbelievable things out there.
Rankin's a fair player, isn't
Rankin
he?
hardly touched it.
Yeah.
And they won by 60.
Rory Ledd's probably an All-Australian.
Yeah, mate.
Sam Berry, massive improvement.
They have the ability to put Ben Keys just rest forward for a while and, kick 3 goals, come in the midfield, come and do 10 CBAs, when you want.
Yeah. Without getting all over them. I
thought I was just doing the Crows podcast for a bit.
I think it is impressive the way they've handled themselves, and guys like Rory Sloane and Ben Keys. So Ben Keys been top 3 in their BNF the last 2 years, been awesome, and he's not in their starting midfield because they have guys like Jake Saligo rolling through their young players who have shown a real growth. So good on them. They look really like they're going really well, and unfortunately there was injury news from this game. I think the Port game we got through relatively unscathed. Rothy broke his arm, I believe.
Do you know how it happened?
Yeah, I do. That contest where Geordie Dawson was coming back with the flight and Rothy just completely committed to it. He was playing a new role as a forward ruck on the day.
Yep.
Bailey got pulled out late. And I think, he just hard contest. Body didn't quite pull up as well as he would have liked from it. And I think he's on the mend, and hopefully it doesn't seem like it's too serious an injury, and he'll be back out there not too long in the future.
Yeah, we've got a medical update dropping tomorrow. We're recording this on the Monday morning. So
cool. Who else are you going to look out for in that injury update?
The injury update. So we're done with Crows. Just finally, what was the biggest takeaway from the club without giving trade secrets away? What was your bigger takeaway from a team perspective that you got to go back to the drawing board on?
Good question. I think their pressure was something that you don't often get in a preseason game. Like that level of pressure, I think, is as good as I can remember facing. Maybe it's just I've been out of the game for a year, but from all reports, from the coaching staff to the other players, the amount of heat they put on the ball was really impressive, and that's an area we want to get to. So you can look at that and see how they did it, and almost pin that up on the board and say this is a standard we want to achieve, and how do we handle it better when it comes in our face like that.
Yep, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Happy with how you handled that one?
Yeah, just.
Yep, sweet. All right, so injury watch. Rothy's obviously leading the charge of how long that broken arm's going to keep him out for. I think the West reported today that they had a number of players, yourself included, that were laid onto the track for 20 minutes.
Yep.
What are you doing for the 20 minutes in there, just to clarify? You're doing touch indoors?
We're doing some injury prevention programs, so
right.
I'm not going to go into huge depth as to what that means, but we're doing things for our body that we require to do so we can play well on the weekend, and the people are often people that have come from long-term injuries. So, again, on this management route of the sports and conditioning staff doing the right thing, getting us ready to play footy on the weekend, even if that means we can't train on a Monday morning.
Yeah, okay. So then we've got Shuey, Natanui, they're the big watchers.
Yep.
Bailey Williams, who pulled out of the Adelaide game with hammy awareness,
yes.
I think it was called. So TB, he was on track. He copped a couple of nasty hits to the rib in that Adelaide game. Good to see him back out there, and congratulations to TB for his second child.
Yep, Benson.
Yes.
Good name.
Terrific stuff there on your TV. Gov on light duties. Jack Williams back out on track, which was pleasing to see.
Yeah, he seems like he's going better than he was a couple of weeks ago. He's
well set on.
He's on the improve.
So what does it say? It says ruptured spleen here from the West.
Yes.
So what on earth has happened to him?
I have no clue.
Right.
I wasn't training for some reason that day. I actually can't quite remember what happened. And yeah, he must have gone to a contest and got a knee or something.
But the ambo's come down, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, ruptured spleen's like a serious internal organ that it bleeds out and is poisonous to your body.
Didn't know that. You're a bit of a human bile geek, are you?
Yeah, somewhat. No, I actually have no clue. My missus is the medico of the family, but yeah, apparently that is a bad thing to happen.
Okay.
Ruptured anything generally means, that's not very good.
So they're all the players on watch. Am I missing anyone there that we're really biting our nails on for team announcement Thursday?
Not necessarily. I think thankfully with that, it is a positive because there isn't a whole heap of people. And as long as we can keep it like that, I think we'll be on the straight and narrow.
Great to see Yowie and Sheed be getting through all
And
the
Coley.
match simulations. Cole as well. Glad you pulled me up on that. Anyone else coming back from long-termers? Let's just cruise through.
Me?
Yeah.
No, we're all going well, thankfully. Touch wood.
Touch wood. All right, we're going to have a break. We're going to go talk to Drewy.
Drew Petrie.
We've already done the chat.
One of the great men. You'll enjoy this.
All right, so stay tuned. Stick around. We're going to talk a little bit more post-Drewy. But looking forward to his floorball chat. Apparently, it's his semi-final tonight.
Good luck, Drew.
He was just bouncing off the hallways downstairs, just amped, like more than his 300th game. Like
His communal family small ball competition.
Correct.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks for sticking around, everyone. As promised, we do have a great of the game joining us in studio. It is none other than the 300 gamer for North Melbourne superstar, Drew Petrie. Welcome to the studio, Drew.
Well, thanks, Steve. Thank you, Oscar. You've loosely used the term great.
You don't think it's an apt description, do you?
Well, I feel very privileged to be a part of, the first guest of Podcast 1, Coast to Coast.
Yeah.
Of all the people in the West Coast arsenal that you could have brought onto today's show,
We had a plethora to choose from.
you did. So I feel like everyone else has said no, and about 15 asks later, you've gone for the bloke that probably sits at a desk 50 steps from where we're recording.
You're an easy target.
Mate, we go for the heavy hitters here. We'll touch on initially on your career because I think a lot of people would know Drew Petrie from his football days playing, and then we might have a little chat about what you're doing now at the football club. But to start with, obviously played 300 games at North Melbourne, came to West Coast at the end. Can you name the other North Melbourne players who have played 300 games?
I can.
Go on.
Brent Harvey,
Yeah.
he sits 1.
He snuck over the line, yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I sit 2.
Yep.
Did you ever think he was reachable?
Nah, 432 I think he played. Not a chance. Number 3 is Glenn Archer. Number 4 is Adam Simpson. Number 5 is... I'm going real blank. Really bad. Wayne Schimmelbusch.
Nice.
Fortunately wore number 20 after Schimmer, or probably 15, 20 years after he retired. But there you go.
What perks do you get for being an AFL 300 gamer? I've asked Bunga, but
Yeah.
he doesn't talk to me much around the club, and he's flat out refused to be on this podcast.
Right. A perk is a ticket to every game, or 2 tickets, to every game. So I could watch 8. How many teams are there? 9, sorry. That was good.
It's been a while.
I could watch 9 games around. I could go to every game. I get 2 tickets, which is beautiful. Very kind from the AFL to allow a player over 300 to have that. But I also
Logistically, probably not the best weekend.
Yeah, no.
well, I don't. Not that I've done it, but I just wanted to articulate what the perk was. And I get 2 grand final tickets every year, which is excellent as well.
They go straight to eBay, do they, Drew?
That'd be
They
good cash in
don't.
the back pocket.
No, I gave my dad and my brother-in-law the tickets to the grand final last year.
You get a few requests for grand final tickets each year?
Every year. I'm sure you would too, Thumper and
Maybe.
Oscar.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely we do.
So 316 games at North Melbourne.
Yep.
Retired.
I didn't retire.
Well, didn't retire. Was there ever a consideration that you were formally going to retire? Or what was the conversations like back then? Because I was 16 at the time, so I don't really fully remember it because I wasn't in AFL circles or anything. Were you always thinking of having another year of playing elsewhere? Were you thinking of staying at North? How did those conversations come about?
So if I guess the phone hadn't have rung, then I wouldn't have gone and pursued another opportunity anywhere else. I was done. And when the phone rang, it was Brady Rawlings and Adam Simpson. Brady Rawlings, our previous, a couple ago now, list manager. Those 2 guys rang and asked if there was any interest in playing one more season and sort of spelt out what it might look like. So that was the initial phone call, and it grew from that. But I was never going to ring another club after North Melbourne said that there'd no longer be a position for me there.
Was it quite a sell that the club had to do, Drew, to uproot the whole family to move to the other side of the nation?
I think it had to come back to whether I believed that I had the passion and that my body would be able to put up with the rigours of another 12 months of footy. So believing that I could do that, the sell wasn't hard at all. To get an opportunity to have a life experience and come over here to WA, play at another club, live in another city, just experience something completely different was an easy sell. But it was the belief on whether I still had the passion and the desire to play footy for another 12 months.
One of the big considerations, if this was to happen to me in the future, is the phone call former teammate, Adam Simpson, who calls you, who's going to be your head coach, and then Daniel Pratt also played with you, and you'd be similar age to Pratty, would you not?
We were drafted the same year to North Melbourne.
So not only Simo, who you've obviously played with, you would have been your captain for a period of time,
he was.
and Pratty.
Yes.
Did that ever cross your mind positively or negatively that, actually, I'm not sure if I want to be playing in a team coached by probably a good mate of yours?
Yeah.
Or was it, bloody oath, like one of my good mates is coaching, he'll look after me, make sure I get a game if I'm not feeling too good, I can have a honest chat with him. But how does that come about?
Well, I'm sure that thought probably ran through other people's minds, that it was a sort of the old jobs for the boys thing going on between some old North crew. But Brady and Simo were the two guys that I had a lot of dealings with, and I trust them as friends and I trust their opinions. So if they were ringing me to ask if the interest and the desire was still there, then I believed them as people, that they had my best interest at heart as well. Mm-hmm. If they'd always thought I was done, over it, past it, had it, they wouldn't have called me and they would have told me. But the belief that I gained out of them actually asking the question, that helped in the decision making, and knowing those two guys and their families, my wife Nicole knows Brady's wife and Simo's wife well, and knows Pratty really well. So that helped in, we had a circle of friends already here. And former West Coast Eagle Casey Green was also at North for a number of years too. So we knew Casey and Jane. And so that helped in having a bit of a circle and network.
I want to ask about the living situation when everyone first lobbed over here. Were you involved in the shared house or, the Simo? Because it wasn't the right year, was it? Weren't they all sharing a house until they got placement of their final residence?
Yeah, they did.
And they were playing like backyard tournaments till God knows what hour and having competitive games of cricket.
Oh,
you know anything about this?
Yeah, I do. Well, the three of them lived together when Simo first come across the coach. It was Simo, Brady Rawlings and Daniel Pratt, who come across as a development coach, living together in a bachelor's pad almost. Right. So going back to almost their early 20s, I think it was barbecues every night. It was driveway cricket until the late evening, and
until the neighbours said any danger.
That's right. And Pratty and Brady would actually complain because Simo, being the new coach, Simo was working from like 7 till 7 every day. So he was trying to get his feet under the desk. And they'd always complain that Simo would delay the games of cricket and what time dinner was served. So he was a bit of a pain in the backside for the other two, who were working hard, but probably not as hard as the coach.
Coming over to West Coast, there was a fair player that came alongside you. Obviously, Mitch came over with you for a year.
Yep.
Did you have, because starting to play a bit more footy now, you create relationships with guys from other sides, either positively or negatively, and you'll see someone after the game, and everyone's generally a good fella.
Well, I'm looking forward to your negative list later in the year.
What were your thoughts on Mitch when you came over? Because obviously you're a super successful player, one of the greats of whilst your time playing the game.
Yeah.
How did you find coming over with him and obviously the impact he had? Obviously he was only there for a year with you.
Yeah.
And then he went on to coach, but what was that like for you?
Yeah, it was unreal. Seeing him, 4-time premiership player, he was awarded the Brownlow Medal the year he was here. That was all that, saga went down and he was awarded it. Just great to see a champion, how his mind worked was what impressed me the most, and his coaching brain. You could always, I could see in the 12 months that I played with him as a teammate that clearly destined to be a coach and a great coach at that, how he thought had a different take on what was important and what was a priority that he thought players needed to train and practice and hear. So that was a really valuable experience having Mitch. We had a few good rivalries. Hawthorn probably have greater rivalries with other clubs, but North and Hawthorn for a few years there were going toe-to-toe in a few games.
One comes to mind. I'm not sure if it comes to mind for you as well.
I now know, it does now. Yeah, it's one of the things that gets brought up anytime, I don't feature on these types of things anymore, podcasts, but
but it always gets a run.
But Mitch was unreal. It was so good to have Mitch here, and the year that he coached, he really contributed to the flag in 18 through his coaching and what he instilled in the players the year before when he played.
What were your recollections of the first game? Because it was 2017 and it was against the old mob.
Yeah, it was.
And you've snapped your hand in half while doing so.
I did. First 5 or 6 minutes in, tackling Luke McDonald in the goal square up our end we were going, and it was just the most innocuous thing. I've been hit 1,000 times harder, and I broke 2 bones in my hand. And to put my hero hat on, I'd seen Glenn Archer break his hand about 8 years earlier in a game in Adelaide, and he continued playing. And you see examples of what teammates do in games, and maybe you reflect on those and you act upon what your teammate did at that time. So first quarter, early on, I thought, we can't be a man down. My legs still work. I said to the doc, am I going to do any further damage? And I can't remember his words exactly, but he said, look, likely you won't, but there's always a possibility. So anyway, he had to go and pull my left index finger forward because the bone was sticking up against the skin, hadn't compounded. So we've gone down the rooms, he's straightened that out. So
you got a needle before that happens or not?
Nah, not after it.
Oh, wow.
Just needed a bit of local just to help me through, which was happy to do, and I'm glad I did, and I'd do it again and again if I had to. But wrapped me up, and I could still run around. I did bugger all, but I just felt if we go down to 21 men in the first 5 minutes of a game, then it's going to impact others. So, again, I know I've pat myself on the back there, but
I set you up to do so.
That's how it all went.
He didn't do nothing on the day. He kicked a goal, and his goal celebration's one of my favourite. It was a phone screensaver for a while. Whether you want to call it purposely or inadvertently, he's grabbed his nuts and given the crowd a bit of, hey, how are you?
That I didn't. See, that's what you're saying.
What's your hand doing down there?
Well, I don't know what it was doing. I think I was ready for what was about to come from the rest of my teammates. Well, lucky my hand got there first. But, it was a great day. I remember JK kicked 7. We had a win, and what a great memory.
It's just different, isn't it, when you're being a younger player compared to older players. Those conversations with the doctors, just for those listening, that doesn't happen for most players. So if I've hurt myself, I'm never going to the doctor, mate, is there any more damage? What can I keep playing? They won't take into consideration. Obviously, being a senior player, you played for a long period of time. First game at the club, but you've played, probably 16 or 17 years of AFL footy before that.
Yeah.
They'd probably trust your judgment, but I don't think many young players, like if you ask any player under the age of probably 28, 30, oh, mate, doctor, how am I going? Can I go back out there? I reckon most of the time it's a flat no if you've actually got an injury. It's just interesting the way that within the four walls of the footy club, people will see you differently because of those actions and how you handle yourself in those situations.
Yeah, it was, I still remember, can clearly remember sitting on the bench after I'd come off, and I was chatting to the doc, and I was the one who instigated all that conversation with him. It wasn't like the doc saying, can you get back out there? We need you. It was, these were purely all my thoughts and thoughts of examples of what I've seen other teammates do across the years. So it wasn't a pressured situation. This was me. And like I said, I'd do it again and again if I had to.
I played against Chance Bateman in an AFL 9s game the other week.
Yes.
I'm sure he gave you the feedback that I had a ton of it and used it well.
He said North Beach were living up to their reputation.
Well, it's great, man.
Well, that's what you two might say.
Or was it chirpy?
Yeah.
Be big on the lip we were. Very happy about it. But then I reflect back, I mean, you were playing some basketball with like the Reptiles, the coaches back in the day.
Yep.
Are you doing any kind of competitive sport whatsoever anymore, Drew? Or are you just full old man mode?
Well, I feel I've progressed. Well, I'm old man mode. I turned 40 last October and I play social floorball now with some school dads when my children are at primary school.
What is that?
Floorball. Well, for the listeners, I'm sure there's a number of you that play floorball. Heaps. Know it. Probably have children that do it. I love it. Floorball, seriously, AFL 9s, basketball, push to one side. If you haven't tried floorball, get a social team together. It's like indoor, so it's like ice hockey, but on a basketball court. So that's the simplest way to describe it.
Can you throw your weight around like the ice hockey?
You can hold your space if you're dribbling the ball, I suppose, controlling the ball.
Yeah. But you got a lot of space to hold, Drew.
It's like all social sport, and you come across this Thumper and Oscar. You've got years before you've got to worry about social sport. But there's those who play social sport who are there for some fun, some fitness, some laughs. And then there's those that still think they're playing for gold medals. Yeah. So I still see a few of those. Steve, I reckon you must be one of those, given what I've heard about your AFL 9s team. But it's good fun. It's what do we say? It's about engaging, connecting with other blokes, and I enjoy it.
It's hard to let go of.
Yeah, I reckon when you're talking about guys who are competitive, I reckon Drew's seen one in the mirror every day when he wakes up.
True.
On the employment side of things, mate, so after you finished playing at West Coast, you began working in the AFLW space originally, did you not? With Sellers, Adam Selwood.
Bit of next-gen stuff as well.
Yeah.
You're looking after father-sons.
Yeah.
You're a bit of a Swiss Army knife of sorts back then.
a jack of all and a master of none, I think they say.
Yep. So was that the area you kind of had penciled yourself into moving into post-footy, or was it just, there's an opportunity there,
Yeah.
I'll grab at that, or how did that come about for you?
Yeah, when I played the season in 17, part of my contract was as I was an employee for a day a week in our community and game development department. So I was doing a little bit the year I played, and that morphed into a full-time role when I retired. The club was really kind in offering me a position in
But
that
you must
department.
have known that was coming, though, Drew. You weren't coming over to play 1 year of footy and then possibly go home,
100%.
right?
I know, I was. We were here effectively, I come over early December on my own for a month, and then the family came in January.
Good month. Wind it back.
Yeah, it was. I lived with Big Eric McKenzie.
Big
yeah,
Eric.
for 8 days. He looked after me, and then I lived in a house on my own for about 8 days too. But the Big Easy's he's a great man.
Good company.
So I was coming for a year. That was it, and we're going back. So there was I know Mitch was tied to a 3 or 4 year contract with coaching, and I was tied to nothing. It was an adventure for 12 months.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So the community department, fantastic, great way to have a broad range of roles, which you guys outlined, and to see a lot of the states. So I travelled up to the Pilbara, so Newman, Karratha, Headland. I got to see, Kalgoorlie, Albany, Esperance, Bunbury, the southern regions. So I got to really see heaps of WA, which was cool, and work with young boys and girls, our academy space with multicultural and Indigenous players who, Geordie Baker and Tyrell Dewar are two graduates from that program. So that was where I worked and absolutely loved it.
Before we get on to the new role now, you did play a couple of seasons for, was it East Perth back then, or was it our West Coast Waffle?
I did a Waffle Eagles.
The inaugural year, was it not, 2019?
It was.
Yeah.
It was the inaugural year.
And you played a couple of years. I want to ask how you reflect on that time, and then I want to know how much longer the club were beating the door down to get you back for several more years. Don't lie here, Drew. I know that they were desperate to have a big key defender come back down. Where you'd found your new home.
You're grooming my ego beautifully here, Thumper, but I will state some facts. So in 19, Brady Rawlings, still here as list manager, asked if I'd play the whole year. So I'd do a pre-season. I think he asked me in November, and I said yes on a Thursday. And then by Friday morning, I'm like, By Saturday, I'm thinking, nah. By Sunday, I'm like, I'm not playing another year. I'm not doing another pre-season. So I said on the Monday to Brady, I said, mate, I can't do this. I can't be bothered. I'm done. I'm very content. Anyway, we get to mid-2019. This AFL team has a lot of injuries to tall players. And there was a spot at fullback that Simo rang and asked. He said, mate, can you just stand at fullback for the next 9 rounds?
Were you fit at this stage?
I just run the HBF half marathon with my wife.
Was he fit? This guy we finished training and he'd just be doing laps on his own, smashing it.
No, well, let's just try to keep up with you young blokes.
Well, it's your
that's
own
what
fault.
that's what I had to do. So,
Simo sees you doing laps, getting ready for marathons.
So I was reasonably fit. Anyway, played 9 games, Waffle Eagles. Loved it because I got to play a game with Nick Nat, which I'd never done before. So we did a Waffle Eagles game against East Fremantle. That was Shark Park.
I think we did the maths. There was about 700 games of AFL experience. I think Drew was playing, Nick Nat, Tom Barras was playing.
Yeah, he was. Yep.
There was some other names out there who we're not normally playing waffle footy.
Was the game where Brayshaw got knocked out and no one could drive his car home because it was a manual car?
Correct, yeah. This was this game.
Isn't that a blight on the people in society these days? You can't drive a manual car. Goodness me.
I know, not a good look.
So we'll get on to your new role in a second. And for those who don't know, he works as, correct me if I haven't got the terminology correct, but the traditional PDM, player development manager. So he works with the playing group in terms of what are they doing away from football, setting them up post-football, introducing the new young players into the system.
Yep.
And Drew, the nicest fella anyone's ever met. Like, you couldn't say a bad word about him. Is there any truth in the fact that you couldn't play anymore because you can't be going up and telling a first-year player how you're going away from footy when you're playing waffle with him on the weekend and spraying at him for not manning up?
Well, you both have played a lot of footy, and you know what it's like when you're communicating on a footy field. You can't walk up to someone and say, "Excuse me, can we just have a quick chat about?" Or bring someone in from HR. Can we just communicate about what we should do when the footy's coming forward? You can't do that.
No.
So you've just got to yell and scream and get your point across straight away. So I felt bad. Harry Edwards was he was in his first year and playing in the back line, and it was nothing. Well, it was not, I just had to, and he wasn't the only one, and he had every right to yell at me. Just it's direction, instructional kind of yelling. So I felt bad a few times having to be quite loud in games, but I love that year. That was really enjoyable footy playing in that team. But no, the role I do now, like you said, Oz, is just to support the players with their off-field career development and pathways, so that when the time comes and they have to finish, that there's some direction and there's a plan in place.
Assuming that's a heavy emphasis of the AFL these days, Oz? The AFLPA?
Yeah, I believe that every club's certainly got a PDM now,
Yep.
player development manager, and every AFL club has a mandated day off. So ours is a Wednesday, so where the guys are now doing university in the last couple of years, it's become a lot easier for guys to do a traineeship, so become a Sparky or do whatever they want in that space. It's great for guys who need to get experience. So if you're doing teaching, you can go and do some experience at schools during the week now on Wednesdays, which you weren't able to do in the past. So whether it's at studies or continuing going to university or school in any manner, or you're on the tools and you're getting actual manual use out of yourself, the AFL's become really good in that, particularly in the last couple of years, because when I started, you couldn't do your apprenticeship in plumbing. You couldn't do anything like that because you weren't going to be able to get enough hours actually on the tools, but they've made some adjustments to that program, so that can be done now.
Is it mandatory that a player takes part in these programs?
Yeah, we do. We like to have everyone doing something. Our first-year players participate in an induction program that's run by the AFL Players Association, and we also as a club provide some learning opportunities and education for our first year players in the first half of the year, and then in the second half of this season we'll look for the young blokes to kick the tyres and start to explore a few things. But Thumper, we have the pin-up boy of career development with us in our presence. So the conversation usually goes, Oscar wanders down to my desk and he tells me he's continuing on with what he's doing. I've organised this to be on that day. I've spoken to the elite athlete coordinator at the university and I'm all set. I'm like, tick, Oscar sorted for the year. So I get the Oscar, he's at the top of the spectrum, and then
Who's at the bottom of the spectrum?
Look, I wasn't great either. I sort of mumbled my way through whilst I played football and walked away with lots of life experience and work experience things. So I understand that not everybody is as aware of what they want to do after football until maybe the day comes when they get the tap on the shoulder.
I agree. I mean, they've worked their whole lives to be doing the job that they want to do, and it's now, hey, you've got your dream. Can you think about your second dream while you're doing your dream?
Yeah,
very difficult.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you think of anyone else in the workforce that, yourself. Well, I'm not going to use you as an example, but
no, I haven't got much else going on.
but there's others out there that are not thinking of a second career whilst they're putting everything they possibly can into their current career.
So who, it's not a one-man band. Who else is supporting you in this venture and this space that you're currently in? Yeah,
I've got a great team of people. Every club as well now, Oscar has a Indigenous player development manager, which is Chance Bateman. Chance has been with the club almost 12 months. This is his second stint. He was a development coach pre-COVID and then unfortunately, moved outside of football when COVID hit.
Great to have him back, though.
Oh, he's a ripper, Chance. Works across the club with our First Nations players and gives guidance to the club.
Got a great golf swing, Oz. Like, we'd play off 5 and under.
Chang does.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing him a decade ago, striking him at Mozzie Park driving range in a beanie and footy shorts. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's Chance Bateman there. He's flushing them. Beautiful.
Dare I say, our PDM department at the West Coast Eagles could take up any other club in any sport, and I reckon we have them covered because good runners, good swimmers, footballers, they're pretty fair. I reckon they combine for 600 games between them. They're going all right.
So you got Changa by your side.
Yeah, and Ian Serge Miller, who has been with the club for 30 years and working 3 days a week, Serge, but he's been great for guidance. He had 20 years in this role on his own, so he's a doyen of the WA football landscape, really. We have Peter Staples as well, who is our Integrity Services Manager. So Stapes also flips into a bit of player wellbeing and guidance, let's say. So between the four of us, we try to support the players on their AFL journeys.
What about draft day, Drew? Would you say that's, or the draft week, in fact, would you say that's the most sort of hectic period of your role? Is sort of having to get established with these draftees at the club, get visiting to their doors wherever they live. Talk to us and talk to the fans that probably don't have that insight of what a draft day might look like for the Dish. Yeah,
the fans fortunately got to see a little insight when we visited Kobe Burgeel and his family down in Maffra.
And how far out is that, mate?
That was, I think it was a good 2.5 hours drive out of Melbourne. So draft, that was fun. And the excitement I get out of seeing how excited these kids are and meeting their families who are just as excited is a real enjoyable part of the role. So draft night finishes, there was obviously the Monday night, then the Tuesday night draft. Wednesday we jump in a car, drive to Maffra, visit Kobe and his family, drive back to Melbourne.
Just before you go there, like, what are some of the conversations that you're having with these kids? What are you preparing them for what an AFL life is like? Are you just getting to know them?
Yeah.
What's the convos like?
Well, I'm the sort of basically my team and I are the conduit to the club. So we're about to pick up your child, and your 18-year-old kid who's lived at home and you've reared for 18 years, and take them to Perth, beautiful Perth, and the West Coast Eagles. So the families want to know what's the first training day, how they're getting across, where they're living. We've got some amazing host families. So all of our players that come from interstate or regional WA will go and live with the host family. So we've got some people that the club that have supported the club so well over many, many years. And that's a credit to Ian Miller for what he's been able to do. So there's the transferring. We actually fly all the families across to Perth for an induction weekend within the first 2 weeks of the player being drafted, so that the families get to meet the host families, see the staff, see the club, understand when their sons are talking to them, what they're talking to them about, and they can visualise where they're going each day and where they're living and all those surroundings, which gives the families more comfort because, again, you're moving your child, from the other side of the country to here. So there's a whole range, and throughout the year we're the conduit to the family. So I talk to the parents of a lot of our players regularly, and just giving reassurance that they're going well, and looking after the young blokes in all facets of their life.
Nice. Before I wrap, you got anything?
I was just going to ask, so the club's been really good, and particularly in the last year when guys are picked up, trying to get some senior players who are at the club to reach out or go and see them. The question everyone wants to know is, how much in advance does Drew Petrie know who West Coast are taking with the 8th pick or the 30th pick? Like, is it once it's called out, it's like, all right, we're on, let's go drive to his house, or how does that all work?
I think the draft group knows Drew's a bit of a gossip, so they keep him out of a lot of the WhatsApps.
I'll leak everything. No, I don't know, Oz.
So once it comes up on the screen, you're like, okay, that's the guy, that's the kid that I'll invest minimum 2 years every day, pretty much making sure he's on the right path.
Yeah, it's a bit intense, that room on draft night. So on the first night when they did the round 1 picks, I was like, no, I'm not sitting in there. That looks a bit too intense. It's like a nerve centre, the NASA nerve centre or the CIA nerve centre. I'm not going in there.
Drew's sitting with the nuffies at that point.
I was sitting
the comms team.
Yeah, that's right. I'm with the comms team.
Yourself.
With Tim and Travis and you, Thumper.
Correct.
The second night, I actually sat in the room, and prior to us, our pick, so the team before reads out their pick, and then the guys in the room are saying, yeah, well, we're taking that person. So I've got a list of their phone numbers. I call the player and just hand my phone over to Simo because he can't dial a number. I have to dial it for him. And so, because Simo's the first, they don't want to hear my voice first. They want to hear the coach. So the coach talks to them first for a minute, welcomes them, and the draft's still going on. So he goes back and sits down and they talk about the next pick. And then I have a conversation with the player and say, mate, just basically welcome, enjoy the next little period. I'll give you a call in the morning and we'll sort out what's going on tomorrow. So I don't say too much to them. So that's after we call them out. But I don't get a massive heads up because there's so many players. It's so much gets bandied around, doesn't it? It's I just wait till they've called them out.
I'd love if someone had saved your phone number as Adam Simpson because that's the first person they've heard. And just random number keeps calling me on Friday night during selection. I'm just never answering it. It's weird how he's calling me there.
Yeah, that could happen.
Before we say goodbye, Drew, just want to ask a quick question. Wife Nicole, 3 kids. Abby, Ruby, and
eldest is Jack.
Yep. So, bit of size for yourself. Sporting genes are there. Have we got any up and coming sports people within the clan? In the Golden Triangle that are possibly advancing through.
Live the good life.
Or is sport really isn't their caper?
No, the kids love sport, and my wife played basketball for the country as well as a junior. So
that is big.
Yeah, so any sporting genes, I'm not going to be silly enough to assume if there's any talent that comes through that it's all from me. But my kids, I just love them being active. I love them being outside. My son surfs. He plays footy. He plays basketball. My girls play They play hockey, they play basketball. They're active kids. We're sort of an active family, and they can be whatever they want in life. I know this might sound like a tagline, but as long as they're happy, good people, I don't care what they do in life, mate.
Easy.
Love
Good
it.
answer.
It's a good
Not
answer.
sure what it means for father, son, and daughter.
Well,
father-daughter.
I think we might be pushing uphill because I think there's another club who's probably said we've had 98% of his career here. I think we might take him if that happens.
Well
But
said.
We'll wait and see. Thank you very much, Dish. Really appreciate it, mate. Take you up for half an hour on your busy day. You got to go sort out what all those first years are up to.
Yep.
But thank you very much for coming on, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks for your time.
Great chat there from the Dish. What was your highlight?
I just love the way Dish committed his family to come over here, and I'm not sure if I believe him when he says
The 1 year deal.
he had a 1 year deal with nothing post footy. Like, come on, mate.
He seems smarter than that.
Yeah, he's a well put together man, and clearly it's worked out well for him. He's gone into 3 or 4 different roles post football, being involved in a football organisation already. So onwards and upwards for the big Dish.
I don't think I'd handle a spray from him too well because it would seem so out of character from it.
There's stories of him going to random like East Freo players, like 18-year-old kids who are playing on him. Like, imagine Drew Petrie, like AFL superstar in his prime, just absolutely baking them like you're nothing.
How
like
good.
yelling at them because they've tried to bumper bar him off the ball or something. He's like, how dare you? How dare you?
That is so good.
And so unlike him because he's the nicest man.
I know, that's why I'd need to see it. Okay, let's go to Captain's Day over in Melbourne. So Boots didn't fly over, wanted to keep the body cherry ripe. Duggo's jumped on that grenade.
Yeah.
So good on you, Duggo. The yes man, Duggo. Like, he'll
Yeah.
do anything for the club. You got to love him.
Yeah.
No captain has picked the Eagles to finish in the top 8.
Yes.
We've got Justin Langer picking us to win the flag in the media,
Love it.
who is currently on the Eagles board. So
Yeah. He doesn't really have much choice, I think, the big
they
fella.
are chalk and cheese in
Yeah.
terms of season predictions. JK's tipped the Cats, apparently, to win the
Oh,
flag.
that's bold from him.
So yeah,
that's bold from
he's
JK.
gone out on an absolute limb there on your JK. But if anyone didn't see it, I think Brisbane had 17 picks, the Cats and the Tigers either 18 or 16, Sydney, Melbourne 15, 2 for the Gold Coast,
Yep.
and 1 for the Saints and Crows.
I like the Crows as a smoky. I don't want to say some teams are going to play finals or not. Like, I'm not here to say that. The round starts this week and everyone's 0-0, so anything can happen. It's just fuel. Like, every team's going to use it one way or another to try and bring energy to what they're going to produce this year, right? Teams will either look at it and say, 17 teams picked us, let's prove them right. Let's show them that we're the team. They're scared of us. Or teams are going to say, no one picked us, we're the underdogs. Stuff everyone else. Let's go out. Like, any way you
Always
put it,
find a narrative.
yeah,
right?
absolutely. It's whatever story the senior coach or the football department wants to tell themselves. So that's not really important for me or for the footy club, and we'll just deal with our stuff.
Are you looking forward to this charter flight on the horizon?
Yeah, I am. Fans on it, which should be fun.
I know. If you do want to get on board for any charter flights, contact the club, go to the website. Plenty of seats still available. What's your travel routine going to be, Oz? You going to study again? You're going to keep the study to a minimal on the way home? You know, a bit of TV, a bit of relaxed time, a bit of cards.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on in travel land?
On the way over, I think I might have nabbed a seat up near the front end of the plane. So potentially that's probably more conducive to study because it's more the older tackers up there who are reading the paper and have no interest in talking to me. So potentially I'll do that. And the way home's generally, hopefully, and it will be, knock on wood, some good wins away from home. So as we're driving home, we're playing cards, we're having a laugh, having a Diet Coke here or there, enjoying ourselves.
What fans can look forward to this season, Oz? We're going to give a sneak peek into some of the weekly insights we're going to have happening
Yes.
here at Coast to Coast.
Weekly segments. You've asked for it, we're giving it.
Correct. So we're going to go with the votes. We're going to bring the votes back.
Yes.
We should probably just call it the Hammer Time votes, just for an homage to the great man.
And watch this space. I'm going to have a serious word about getting him in one week this year.
Yeah, I like it. I'd like to bring him in with Jackson Nelson to give us a bit of a waffle preview right before the season starts. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, we can do that.
That's interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah, good votes there from you, mate. We'll have weekly votes, a player of the day that'll be chosen by either you or I, or we can give one each. Who cares about that one?
Yep.
Waffle Watch, I want to hear what's going on the lower levels, but they're not starting for another 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be a bare cupboard for a little while. We're going to have teammates come in of yours. We're going to quiz
Every
them up.
week. Every week.
Yeah, we'll try and do that. There'll be someone important in here every week. We want to get a bit of footy trivia going from them. I'm always fascinated how much or how little footy players know about their own sport.
So, can I preface this?
Do whatever you want, mate. It's your show.
Is it going to be you, trivia, me and them on the same team, me and them versing each other, or you and me versing them?
Ooh, what do you reckon? You want to verse them?
I think we do a head-to-head me versus them,
Okay.
and then we have a leaderboard.
So what you're telling me is you don't want to write any of the questions, and that's me again preparing?
You're so onto it.
Yeah, good on you,
Nothing gets past you.
All right. I want to have the weekend bog Oz. So someone that has been best on ground
Yes.
in life
Right.
over the weekend.
Cool. Love it.
Footy or not, you bring it to me on a Monday.
Yep.
And you wow me.
Yep.
And I'll do the same. We're also going to have everyone bring in a piece of content. This is going to be the guest, yourself, myself, and it's called Rate My Content. It can either be some fun trivia, a good story, whatever. Just come in, entertain us, and we'll give you a score.
I tell you what, there's a hell of a lot of stuff there, and I'm super excited for all of that. And one other thing you and I are going to focus on, and we've been texting away on our little WhatsApp we've got with each other. We're going to give you some sports content, or not necessarily sports content, general life content that comes across our desk on Twitter, and we're going to discuss it. So we've got some different topics we're going to talk about. It's not all going to be footy because obviously you and I probably can't make comment on other players or other clubs. So we found some interesting topics which I think the listeners will like to hear about. Do you want to start us off with one?
I will. I'll throw you one first, but in
Yep.
case, the whole reason we want to do this, we want to get some fan interaction going. So hit Aussie up on the gram.
Yep.
You're not on TikTok yet, are you?
No, I never will be.
Okay.
Yep.
Are you proud of that, are you?
Yeah. Oscar Allen 7. I know this was a big issue a couple of years ago. I still haven't changed it to Oscar Allen 12, and I'm still unsure how to do it. So still Oscar Allen 7, and we'll run with that.
You on Twitter?
Yeah, but don't use it, so don't send it to me on Twitter.
Okay. You can go at Thumperlicious on Twitter or Instagram. I'm more of a chance to see it. Oscar is
No, I
inundated
see
with.
it. I see
inundated
it.
with you. I missed your multi. Like any danger, you're getting 20 touches.
No,
Spray,
no
spray,
chance.
spray.
Yeah.
Yep.
But hit me up still.
Okay. Or if you're old school, send us an email. Ask the boys.
Yeah.
At wce.com.au.
Love it.
I think we were inundated with about 10 emails last year.
You
so
and me being the boys?
Correct. I
Cool.
hope so. I
That's
don't know who else.
exciting.
I don't know who else would be. Let me throw at you some turf repair going on from the start here, Oz. So
Go on.
Ed Sheeran mania has taken control of this country. Mm-hmm. Where do you sit on Ed Sheeran as a whole?
My partner Lorna went there last night with some family and friends and loved it.
Didn't want to go.
Nah, I wasn't offered to go. She said, no, I'm going out with my friends and my mum. I don't want you to come with me.
So you would have gone if the ticket just fell in your lap, but you're not chasing it.
Oh, probably not. Like I do enjoy it, but I would. It's a Sunday night. Like I wouldn't be. Not saying you need to drink to have fun, but we're all. I'm clued in. I'm on the straight and narrow. We're into footy. My mind is solely set on North Melbourne. I don't want that distraction.
Any players go?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, too good.
Yeah.
So before we haven't really got a picture of what Optus Stadium looks like, but obviously no West Coast or Fremantle games, no home games at Optus this weekend to sort of recover from Ed Mania.
Smart.
Because what's happening at the MCG right now, they've taken on one of the biggest ever repair jobs because of the heavy rain and the 2 nights of Ed Sheeran laying over 10,000 square metres. That's half the ground, Oz. That is a cooked MCG.
That's a good sign.
It's not like it hasn't got much on.
Thursday night game too.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's got 4 games this weekend at the G-Banger.
Christ.
And you got to get it already. So over 215,000 attended. Mate, I saw a picture the other day. It looked like Trig Beach. Just sand galore.
So when they did the captain shoot, they did the Etihad and not the G to keep them off the ground.
What, the 30-odd people that
Yeah,
are there?
crazy.
But yeah, that'll make a difference.
Yeah.
Because Adelaide Oval's ripping up turf as well.
Sweet.
So, we're looking forward to seeing how Optus has pulled up. I was going to ask you for your top 3 Ed tunes, but that sounds like it's going to fall on absolute deaf ears.
Nah, there are some good tunes.
I'm sure there are, mate.
Supermarket
216,000 at the G, so they probably
Supermarket Flowers is a good tune.
Okay.
That's a soul crushing one.
Well, you have that on repeat last year, did you?
Yeah, whenever I was going through tough times, that song was just in the background.
Just you sobbing in the shower with some Ed playing?
Well, he's just such a broad artist. Like, I was listening to some songs. I'm not sure if anyone goes to concerts, but I'm sure people do. But my missus was just playing it all afternoon just to familiarise herself with some of them.
It's a common trend.
Yeah, I mean, he's just got some of his old stuff, like that X album from 2014. Like, Don't is such a tune. Bloodstream.
Bloodstream's a banger.
Like, I See Fire. I remember watching The Hobbit and that coming out.
The Hobbit.
The Hobbit was so good with that.
Oh, my
I'm
goodness.
such a nerd.
Yeah, we won't touch on
I
your
played
Harry
so
Potter
much
game.
Harry
We
Potter
won't touch
Legacy.
on that. We'll save that for another week. Okay, let me take to you the Greg Oden situation. This could be the finish, right, for this week. So
Yeah, okay.
Can I touch, unless you got something else to bring up?
No, let's talk about Greg Oden.
So Greg Oden, for those that don't know, former number 1 pick out of the Portland Trailblazers in the NBA, drafted the same year as Kevin Durant. I'm sure people have heard of KD over this bloke. His body could never hold up, old Greggy. considered one of the biggest busts in NBA history for that number 1 pick.
So Kevin Durant went 2 in that draft. Greg Oden was the right pick. So even knowing what you know now, people going back probably think we'll still take Greg Oden if his body was right. That's how talented he was. Like, he was one of the premier centers of the last 20 years to go into an NBA draft, and he had chronic knee issues. So that was the main thing that cost him. It wasn't like he had bad hammies or something. He had bad knees. And as a 7'3" guy who weighs probably 140 kilos, probably not conducive to having knee issues and being able to get through it.
And he's come out and basically had an interview with The Ringer, and he said, I felt when he got cut by Portland, said enough's enough, and then wasn't re-signed to anyone else, I believe.
Yep.
He just said, I felt like a failure. Like, I felt like I let a lot of people down, let Portland down, the whole entire staff, the organisation, my family, everyone who's ever coached me and believed in me let me down. He's ended up admitting that he didn't leave his house for about 2 weeks straight after he'd been cut by the franchise. So I wanted to ask you, Oz, what you thought of that story, really, and does your own or your teammates' own personal performances or current issues affect how you go about your everyday life here in Perth?
It is something that when you do play poorly or when the team plays poorly, you definitely do think about it when you're leaving the house the next day. So you're worried about, I hope someone doesn't pull me up for me kicking it out of bounds on the full from 30 metres out straight in front. Like, you're thinking about these things and it's going through your head about all the mistakes you made and what people are going to say about them. And it's something that we've got a new club psychologist who was the former Cricket Australia and WA Cricket at the WACA, their psychologist. And he's not only about life issues away from the football club, because that's obviously prevalent in society, but also sports psychology. So what does it mean to execute a skill when pressure's on you, and what does it mean when you don't quite execute, and how's that going to affect the rest of your life? It's one of the things that I think is a real growth area that as a football club we're getting better at, and I think that'll correlate to better on-field performance. And one of the things that I've gotten better at is I no longer think about this as much as I used to. And maybe it's a bit of context. Last year not playing all of a sudden isn't that important if I missed a set shot from 30 metres out, because at least I get to go out and do what I love with my mates. But I'm sure there's definitely a lot of players, and particularly younger players, where it's their first time really being exposed to the public limelight, being worried about going to their local cafe and some punter calls them an idiot or whatever it may be. It's just simple things like that it's not a massive issue whatsoever, but it's just something that you don't often think about until you're put in that situation.
Do you find players are more heightened to the sensitivities of it than perhaps what you are, or you think you were on the greater spectrum before perhaps last year came about?
I think I'm just bog standard. I think everyone is quite used to it. Obviously, WA is a big footy market, and playing for West Coast, a massive side, and the nature of the role I play like a key position player. They often, a lot of pressure's put on them because you're the one that's supposed to kick the goals. And when you look at the stats after the game, how many goals do you kick? Like, it's a pretty objective judge of how the game went if you're a fan. It is something that, particularly with social media as well, it's not even I'm just going to the cafe. It's, oh my God, when I turn this phone on after the game, what's it going to say to me?
Yeah.
How's it going to tell? What are people going to say? Like, how did I play? What do people think about me? Well, am I care because I do this, that, or the other? Like, it's something that is more active in society. And yeah, 20 years ago, it might be go down to your local coffee shop and someone says to, I don't know, Dean Cox, mate, you're a superstar, or you were shit house yesterday. But now with social media, and it's something that not only footballers but everyone in society is going through, anyone can contact you at any time and say whatever they want to you.
Give me a tip for, emerging youngsters. Got to be Ruben, doesn't it?
Yeah, Ruben. I do love Huey and the Batman. I think Batman will get a look in.
It's not a trifecta, mate. You can't throw the blanket over three of them.
Well, Rubes is probably one of the more obvious suggestions. I'm going to go Batman. I'm going to say he plays senior footy this year, and as a first-year ruckman, not many people do that.
Yep. Who's winning the Johnny Woosha medal?
I love Tom Cole. I think he's a perennially underrated. I'm not going to say he's winning. He'll come in the top 5. I think
top 5 would be a big year for Tommy Cole to get in that.
I think Tim Kelly might win it this year.
You know, Gov was absolutely
miles ahead
before he got injured as well.
He was playing his best footy I've ever seen him play last year.
Yep.
Hopefully we can see more of that again this year.
Okay. But because I remember I had Tim Kelly in a sweepstake around the office and I was waiting for him to...
Who do you have this year?
We haven't done it yet. We were doing it last year. I don't think anyone's got around to organising it.
Sweet.
But the way that Tim Kelly sort of was mentally preparing himself for this year, just had me believing in some Tim Kelly action this year.
Yeah,
but I'm not around him every day, mate. That's you.
He's had a great preseason. He has had a great preseason.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Give me your top 3 preseasoners for the year before we wrap. So, like,
This will be the last thing?
yeah, this will be it. So,
Cool.
like, unless you got something.
No, I do think that...
This has got. Is this on the top 3?
Yeah,
I
top
want.
3.
I want. So consistency of performance on track.
Yep.
Availability on track.
Mm-hmm.
Getting around the boys. Sort of like not just being in your shell and being like, well, I'm concentrating on what I'm doing. They're all encompassing. So who's had the best preseason when you're factoring in all those scores?
That is
all that criteria.
It's a tough thing to meet all that criteria because you see a lot of the guys that have cracking preseasons on field are so narrow, laser focused into what they need to do.
But you can't have every teammate do that.
Yeah,
though.
I agree. I do agree with you. Number 1, Jamie Cripps. So came out 1R, 2K'er, hasn't missed a training session, I don't think, and even against Port and Adelaide, I thought was one of our better players.
Very active. Yeah.
In a role which is tough to play when the side's not going that great. So Cripper, I think Jai Cully, he's probably a common name that's been popping up.
I have the feeling that he was just an absolute demon in this off-season, to the point of them probably telling him you got to rein it back.
Yeah, he is such a well-built guy and mentally is so switched on to everything that he needs to do. And I think coming from a background where he missed the national draft and then was a rookie pickup in the mid-season draft was a bit of a fire starter and said, all right, watch what I can do now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people have written me off, watch what I'm going to do now and prove you wrong. And that's something that he started in great vein, and I'm hoping he gets an opportunity early this year to show what he can do.
You miss him at your house a bit?
I do miss him, yeah. Jai's he's a beloved friend. My dog likes him more than he likes me, so whenever Jai comes home, he gets a lot of attention, so takes it off me for the afternoon. And another guy who's had a great preseason, I'm going to combine them into one, because I see them as one entity because of how hard they train and their similarities. Greg and Westy have done everything together all off-season. I'm saying one entity because every time I did some off-season running, they were there together.
Okay.
Like, they do their gym together. They go to the same gym, go to the same personal trainer, do everything to the best of their ability together. Both have their diets on point. Both ran a really similar time, I think, in the 2K. Both really blew everyone's expectations out of the water. So Greg, Westy, Jai and Cripper.
How do you feel we went?
I thought it was pretty good. You guys let us know on the socials. Obviously, there'll be feedback, good, bad, otherwise. Thank you for chatting, fam, and thanks to you guys for listening.
And thanks to the Dish for stopping by. Next week, should we get Rubes in if he plays?
Yeah, let's get Rubes in.
What if he doesn't play?
If he doesn't play,
Don't say fan suggestions because they'll throw up Nick Nat and they'll throw up all people that don't want to talk to me.
If he doesn't play, let's get like a Jakey Waterman in or someone like that.
All right. Maybe with Roth. He'll have some spare time.
Yeah, maybe.
No, because they wanted to mix up that combination for the next time. I think I heard them say.
I'll tell you what, let's just go with Ruben. Stay tuned, guys.